Hello everyone. In this episode I want to show you how we can add textures to our garment that we've cobbled together from various pieces over the last few episodes. Here's what mine looks like. I've made a few adjustment morphs so that the shirt and the trousers and the boots fit together, and these are just random colors right now, but there are no proper textures on this. I've made those in a stream in Substance Painter actually, which is almost 3 months ago. I'll leave a link to that stream in the description if you want to have a look at that and see how I've made them. But yeah, there's a few things that we need to do. So if I had an image that I've made a texture that I have on my desktop, and I'm going to slap that on here, and then I'm going to go and share this file out and give it to other people, they're not going to be able to see it because Daz Studio is going to reference my local version of that texture. And of course, that doesn't exist on any target system. So what we have to do is make sure the textures are in the correct place, namely in a mapped directory here on the content library. So they have to be in a special place. And from there, they need to be applied to all the parts of my garment. And then I can go and share that whole folder with somebody else. So the benefit is in the next video, I'm going to show you how to save out all this so that it becomes a proper shareable garment, and we're going to use the same directory for that. So before we put the textures on, let's go and create that structure. I'm going to go and make this on the desktop here. Let me just go and create a new folder here. I'm going to call that one My Outfit, perhaps, because that is what it is, and it's completely empty right now. Let me go and open this up. In it, I need to create a few pertinent folders so I can go and copy something into that. So the first folder I'm going to create is called Runtime, and this is something from the old Poser days, really. In Runtime, that's where Poser hid all its stuff, and Daz Studio, being sort of backward compatible with that in the past, still makes use of that original texture folder, the one that I have exported from Substance Painter here quickly. And that's here under textures. And here I have 3 folders already: moldy boots, puffy pants, and the raglan shirt. And in each of these, we're going to find the texture. So that's the base color for my shirt. And then we have a height map, metallic map, normal map, and we have a roughness map. You can name them anything you like, doesn't really matter. I've just used the ones, the file names that came out of Substance Painter. I'm going to go and copy that over into this folder in my new directory here. So this is the folder structure. In My Outfit, that's my new folder, I have Runtime. In it, I have textures. In it, I have my vendor name. In it, I have my product name. And in it, I have subdirectories for each and every outfit. So this is the folder I want to focus on, and I'm going to go and close this one down so we don't get confused here. So in Daz Studio, then I need to map that folder to my content library, and the easiest way to do that is to click over here to Daz Studio formats, and then you right click and add a base directory. And we need this for the next step anyway, so it's good practice to do that. Let me go and move over to my desktop, and here I have My Outfit. So select that folder, and Daz Studio conveniently collapses this, and here I have My Outfit. So there's nothing in it right now, but in the next step we're going to go and, in fact, at the end of this video, we're already going to put something in here. So in order to get textures on my outfit, then I'm going to go and do this for the shirt, pants, and boots separately. I'll start with the shirt, and we may have to do some changes here. So right now I've got my random colors here on the surfaces tab. I don't really want there to be random colors on there. I'm going to go and change this to white first of all. So random colors are helpful during development, but of course white will show the texture as it was in Substance Painter. So then the next thing here is that I can see my material zones are not named properly. I mean, they are descriptive: buttons, collar, shirt, slits, and sleeves, but we have these numbers at the back there, and we can't change that. We do that with the geometry editor tool. And on the tool settings tab, I can see that I have my surface names here. If I go and double click into that, I can just go and take out these numbers. That just gives it a little bit of a better presentation, I believe is what the kids call it. You can use spaces in here as well. I'm just going to go and get rid of the numbers. There we go. That is that. So now let's go back to the Surfaces tab and open one of these up. Let's say the sleeves. So I can see that these are, for whatever reason, not the iRay properties. These are the 3D Light properties. And you can tell the difference if I just go over and create myself a sphere, just as an example, just this primitive. And you select the sphere, go to the spheres default surface here, you will see that this looks a little bit different. So we have here general, we have base, metallic flakes, top coat, and so forth. So that's the Iray Uber shader, and that's what I'd like my shader to be based on. But if I go over to my Raglan shirt, you see that the descriptions are different. We have general, diffuse, specular, ambient, and those are 3D light properties. So the first thing that we need to do is convert them. Not every object might have that, but mine seem to have that. So, good to know. I'm going to go and select all of them at the same time. So I'll convert all these surfaces at the same time. And I'll head over here to presets. That's on the surfaces tab here under presets. And then I'll go over into shaders, and then in shaders I see Iray, and then the first entry under Iray should be Iray Uber base. If that is not the case in your installation of Daz Studio, if you see nothing, or if you see something else and not !Iray Uber base, you can try to navigate there via the content library. You'll find the same thing there. Or if you still don't see that, you may have to install the default resources that come with Daz Studio, because that's part of that. So all we need to do is apply that, double click it, and then if we go back into the editor here, then we see that all of these things are now set up just like they were on my sphere, which is good. I'm going to go delete the sphere, demo over, and let's go into base and apply the first texture. I need to have this applied on all these texture maps. So I'm going to start with the sleeves because they're the most obvious here. And from what I can tell, I'm going to go over to my Explorer window and open the textures in my new directory where I've copied them, the one that is mapped in the content library now, Raglan shirt. I'm going to go and left click and drag these over onto these icons here. So this one, the base color goes onto, well, the base color. We do that and we can see that the sleeves are changing. And then the next one here is the height. Height is, if you open up base, you can see bump. That's where you can put the height map, and the normal map goes into here. So let's go and do that. Height goes into height. You don't have to use all of these, but you can if you want. Normal map goes in here as well. And on the normal map, you notice that as soon as I put that in, the normal map's already set to 1. And that's usually a good starting value, but you can, of course, change that. But notice the bump map here hasn't changed. Even though the map is in there, the value is currently 0, and that means it isn't being taken into consideration when I look at this. So this effect that we see here in Filament, that only comes from the normal map. If I set that to 0, then the map is being dialed out. So I'd like my height map to have a little bit of value in here. And this is sort of personal preference. I'm going to set this to, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10, something like that. Let's put it to 10, and we'll see what that looks like in the final render. So that's that. And a couple of other maps. One is the metallicity map. That's back on the base channel here. Just above the base color, there's metallicity, and it exhibits the same issue. If we go left click and drag that over here, then the map is in there, but the value isn't there. So let me go and switch this to 1 as well, and then we can see a difference. Notice that render engines don't actually care for anything other than 0 or 1. An object is either metallic or it isn't. But of course you can have gray values, as you can see here, so things might appear more or less metallic, and that's what this map does. But in order to make this map kick in, a value of 1 works just fine, so that it's pretty much like what I have done in Substance Painter there. And then the final one is the roughness map, and we can find that under glossy roughness. That's the one. Same thing, so go and move that over to glossy roughness, and the same thing here. Let's go and put that to 1, and then we have that shininess removed, and that's now being taken care of by the map. So that's one surface, but all the textures were the same for all the other surfaces. So I can go over here and copy my sleeves and paste that over all the other surfaces. And then we'll see that this is now more or less what I have set up in Substance Painter. We'll go and see this better in the final render, I suppose. But for now, this is going to work fine. So that was one garment set up. Let's go and do the same with the pants and with the boots. Let's see what they look like. So first of all, the pants, they only have one material zone, but it's also the wrong one, and it has a wrong description. So let's go and basically repeat all the steps that we have done before. So first of all, this needs to turn into Iray Uber because that's what I want to use. Go double click that. Back on editor, now we have the Iray Uber properties, but it's called Fabric Forefront 2153. That's also not exactly descriptive. So I'm going to go over to my geometry editor tool. You can get that from tools as well here. And then under tool settings, let me go and double click into that and call that pants. There we go. Easy peasy. And now back on surfaces, the first thing I'll do is change the base color to white so that we have exactly that value from Substance Painter. And then that is in my other folder, let me puffy pants. Here I only have 4 maps because I guess we don't have a metallicity map. Totally fine. So left click and drag the base color to the base color. Leave the metallicity map alone. Then under base we have the bump. And bump, that's going to be the height map in base bump. And then we have the normal map in the normal map channel. And then the base bump, I'm going to go and set that to maybe 10. Once again, this is something you have to experiment with when it comes to the final render in Iray. Maybe 5 is going to be fine as well. It's just one of those things. We'll have to figure it out. And then under glossy roughness, that is where our roughness map will go. Left click and drag that into here and switch it to 1. It's already at 1, so that's perfect. So that's my pants setup. Let's take a look at the boots. With the boots selected in the scene tab, let's have a look. They also have a weird name, but interestingly, they already have all the Iray properties. So total mystery. I don't know why this sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. It's just something to take care of. So first of all, the base color becomes white, and then we're just going to change wire to something, you know, more memorable. On the tool settings tab, well, let's call that boots. And you could have other material zones here. You could have rubber, and you could have leather, and you could have the, you know, metal bits here and all that. So I only have one, and that works just fine for me. So then back on the surfaces tab here under base, let's go and switch into my new directory here, moldy boots. And these have metal on there now, so that goes into the base color here. Metal, while we're here, goes into metallicity, and that goes onto 1. And then under bump, we'll go and put the normal map into the normal map, and we put the height map into the base bump, and set the base bump to something like 5. Again, subject to an Iray render really. And then under glossy, we'll put the roughness map into glossy roughness and set that value to 1. And then we have something similar to what I had in Substance Painter. So those are all the textures mapped, and I strongly encourage you at this point to save everything that you've done here as a scene file. You can do that while you work on things in Daz Studio. So file, save as scene, and that will save everything about your project. In fact, I might do that here in my working directory just to let you know that. I'm going to go and save this as full outfit v6. And notice how long it takes the system to save all this out. And the reason for this is that the figure here doesn't really get saved with the scene file. It's just a reference to the geometry that is somewhere else on my computer. But Daz Studio doesn't know about any of my outfits, so it takes so long because all of these plus references to my textures are now being saved into the DAW file. And if you look into that, you'll notice that my project, or my scene file and my DAW file is rather large. 237 megabytes. That is a large file. And the reason for that is because the geometry is not described to Daz Studio elsewhere. It is up to us to save that out so that the scene file loads a bit faster and it's a much better user experience afterwards. We're going to take care of that in the next video, but just to let you know, this is why that takes so long, because you haven't saved our outfit out. But what we can do now is at least create a material preset for our outfit here. And this is something that we can also do in our content library under my outfit. So this is where we need to create more of a folder structure so that there's some user-facing files here that people can load. It'll be even more important for them to be able to load something like the shirt in the first place, so we'll take care of that in the next step. But for now, let's go and create a couple of material presets here just for these textures I've set up, because in the real life you might have 5 other variations, texture variations for the shirt or for the pants or for the boots, all of which you could save as material presets so that then people can, you know, change the look and feel of the clothing. I'm going to go and do this in fact, in Daz Studio here, you can do it in the Windows Explorer as well, but you can do it in here as well. So just by right-clicking on your directory, you can create a subfolder, and we're going to call that one people. And once again, this is now going to follow the regular Daz Studio library things. You've got people, and then we have Genesis 8, female, male, or 9 in my case. In 9, you then have characters or clothing or all these other things. So we need clothing, and in there we have a vendor name, and in there we have the outfit name, and in there we have a folder called materials, and this is where we have the material preset. And this is what we're going to recreate from scratch. So we had people, then in people, create subfolder Genesis 9. In there we're going to have another subfolder which is called clothing. In here we're having another folder for the vendor, so in that case that's me. So I'll put my name in there. In here, I'm going to have another folder for the outfit that I'm using. So mine's my outfit, of course, because that's the super descriptive name I'd like to sell it on. Of course not. And then in here, we're going to have another one that's called materials. And this is where I can go and save material presets for each and every single clothing item. So let's do that. You can do that from the library here as well, either with the plus icon, or you can go to File, Save As Material Preset. If you do this, you have to navigate to a folder. If you use the little plus icon, then you're always going to pick this folder that Daz Studio is already pre-picked here. So plus, and then we say Material Preset, and we'll call this one Raglan Shirt Matte, or Matte 1, or you call it green, blue, whatever. I'm just going to call it 1, and I want to save all these materials on. So that's that. That saves me that material preset. Same for the boots. You can frame them up. You can also go and might hide the pants here. Select the boots just so that we have a nice thumbnail here. You can replace these as well. I'll show you where they are and how to replace them in a second. So plus, and then we say material preset here. Those are the moldy boots matte. And there we go. They only have one material preset. And then the next thing is the pants. They look so dark here. I don't think they look that dark in Substance Painter. So once again, material presets, and we have the puffy pants matte, and that's another material preset. There's also, I should mention this, rather than saving each part of your outfit individually, you can also save what's known as a hierarchical material preset. And the benefit of that is a bit like what we're going to see in the next video. Rather than clicking a material preset 3 times for each individual item, you can just select the top figure and then go and save a hierarchical material preset that will apply multiple material presets to anything that's parented to the figure. Let me show you how to do this. This is also under here, and instead of a material preset, it's a hierarchical material preset right here. So if we save that out, we can go and call it all mats, perhaps, just as something we want to use. And then in here we can go and open up our figure. So with the figure needs to be selected, not each individual clothing item. The top figure needs to be selected, and then we can go select and deselect what we would like to be included here. I've swapped my dev load character out for the fully fledged figure, which comes with all these attachments. And I did this so that you would understand we don't want to select everything. We want to basically deselect all of these things and only leave what our outfit is. So that is what we want to override in regards to material presets. This is useful if you had, say, an outfit consisting of 3 items and you want to switch from yellow to green to blue, then you would have to apply 3 different material presets, and it's more convenient for the user to apply one thing, and that'll change the textures on 3 different objects, for example. Compress we don't need, and that is it, including simulation settings we don't need here either, but let's just go and hit OK, and then that will now load all these 3 materials onto all our clothing items. That's a hierarchical material preset. All right, let me have a look at the directory here for now and show you where these thumbnails are. So again, it's in the same directory here. At the top level, we have people, and then there's Genesis 9, and then there's clothing, and then there's me, and there's my outfit, and there's the materials. And so we have the actual DAW file, which is very small, 182 kilobytes here. And then we have 2 thumbnail files. One has the same name as a DAW file, and it's called DAW.png. That is 91 by 91 pixels, and that's exactly what you see here in Daz Studio. We have another one which is called tip .png, and that is a bit bigger. That's this one is by default 256 by 256, and you can make that a bit larger if you like. Just make sure it's square and the PNGs with alpha, and that happens when you hover over one of these. Then you can see this larger image appear, and that is the tip file. So if you hover, then the tip file will be displayed. So you can technically have different ones. If you want to put a description or something on the larger one that doesn't appear on the smaller one, you can use that. And as I said, you can also make these a little bit bigger if you find 512 or 1024 is suitable. You can do that, but notice that your computer or your customer's computer will just take a moment to display the larger picture. So it's a nice user experience to have that fairly short and snappy and fairly small as well. And there we go. And you can replace these just with Photoshop files. Excellent. So in the next video, let's take a look then how we can save out the outfit so we can have wearable presets and we can have these clothing presets so that people can go and double click and load the outfit. Stay tuned for that.